In the vast azure sky and earth, with white clouds drifting gently, the moment those two figures faced each other in midair, the surging spiritual energy that erupted caused the entire sky to shift dramatically. The clouds high above were violently torn apart in an instant. Countless gazes from all directions locked onto the two figures confronting each other in the air. Farther away, streams of light continued to streak toward this direction, likely drawn by the news that the Dragon Phoenix Records reigning champion and the Super Dark Horse were about to clash in a decisive battle. Many people were filled with great interest at the prospect of this confrontation. In the sky, Feng Yi's white robe fluttered, his black hair flowing gracefully, giving him an exceptionally elegant appearance. He first glanced indifferently at the figures rushing toward this place, and then turned to Chen, saying, "You've made quite a name for yourself in the Northern Domain recently. Thanks to your blessing." Chen smiled and replied. Feng Yi, undisturbed by Chen's teasing remark, merely chuckled and said, "No need for thanks. Since you understand it was by our grace, I'll just take it back. I can make you famous, but I can also make you vanish into obscurity again." "Oh." Chen shrugged and looked at Feng Yi with a smile. "I'm looking forward to it, but I'd also advise you not to overdo it. If you end up losing the position of the Dragon Phoenix Records champion, you might regret it before you even have time to cry. Then you must have the ability to back that up." Feng Yi's expression remained unchanged, but a cold and icy aura quickly spread from his eyes, sweeping over his body. The overwhelming spiritual energy gathered and raged around him like a storm. Chen felt the immense spiritual pressure emanating from Feng Yi's body. His gaze tightened slightly. Though he showed no sign of retreating on the outside, he knew full well that Feng Yi was indeed a formidable adversary. From the vast spiritual pressure around him, it was clear that Feng Yi had firmly solidified his position at the 5th grade supreme level, far surpassing Chen in strength. This battle would undoubtedly be a fierce one. As the two figures began to gather their spiritual energy in the sky, more and more people were drawn to this place. They gazed at the figures high in the sky, whispering among themselves, "Haha, this clash is quite interesting. The reigning champion of the Dragon Phoenix record versus the Super Dark Horse. I wonder who will come out on top. I think Feng Yi has the greater chance. After all, he's a 5th grade supreme, while Chen is only at the 4th grade. That's not necessarily true. Chen's true strength is far stronger than what's shown on the surface. I heard that during the King's Sealing ceremony in the Great Luo Heaven Domain, even Chen, who stepped into the 5th grade supreme, was defeated by him. Chen only just reached the 5th grade supreme. How can he compare to Feng Yi? If Chen loses this time, it would be a good opportunity to humble him. The kid's been too dominant recently. It's time to suppress him and remind him that in a place like the Northern Domain, it's better to stay humble and low-key." Whispers filled the air, and while many leaned toward Feng Yi having the upper hand in this battle, they also acknowledged that Chen's rapid rise had been extraordinary. But compared to the old champion of the Dragon Phoenix record, he was still somewhat lacking in experience. Most importantly, Chen was still only a 4th grade supreme, while Feng Yi had already reached the 5th grade supreme. Although everyone was aware of Chen's battle achievements and knew his actual combat power far exceeded his apparent strength, making even an ordinary 5th grade supreme seem insignificant in comparison, Feng Yi was clearly not just an ordinary 5th grade supreme. As a young prodigy carefully cultivated by the Divine Hall, his hidden cards were likely beyond anyone's guess. In the valley, Blood Eagle King, Wu Tian, and the others, trapped by the Celestial Crocodile Army, also looked up at the two figures in the sky, their expressions grave. Although they had personally witnessed Chen's strength during the King's Sealing ceremony, they were well aware of Feng Yi's terrifying power. If Chen can make it out of this alive, his reputation among the younger generation in the Northern Domain will be unshakable, said the Blood Eagle King slowly. Recently, Chen's rapid rise in the Northern Domain had stirred up much doubt, especially within the Dragon Phoenix Heaven. Many people believed that Chen's accomplishments were aided by the daughter of the Flame Emperor, which led to dissatisfaction over his high rank in the Dragon Phoenix record, with many questioning his abilities. However, this battle could solidify his reputation. Of course, there was also considerable risk involved. If he were to suffer a crushing defeat at the hands of Fang Yi, the image of the so-called super dark horse would be shattered, and his path forward would face great setbacks. In the harsh northern domain, no one would remember a loser. Boom. A tremendous spiritual force surged like a roaring sea around Fang Yi. The spiritual energy rumbled like thunder, shaking the very heavens. In front of him, Mu Chen's expression grew increasingly serious. Back in the Dragon Phoenix heaven, he had only seen Fang Yi cornered by Kai Xiao, but it was only now, facing him directly, that he truly felt the overwhelming pressure emanating from Fang Yi. This person was a formidable rival. If you're regretting this now, it may be too late. Sometimes, one must pay the price for their arrogance. Fang Yi sneered, his gaze looking down on Mu Chen coldly. Mu Chen merely sneered, too lazy to respond. With a sudden grip of his hand, the great Xun'er demon pillar appeared in his palm, exuding a fierce and murderous aura. With a stomp, his figure turned into a streak of light, shooting toward Fang Yi. Boom. In an instant, the great Xun'er demon pillar descended with a massive shadow and overwhelming power, slamming down mercilessly on Fang Yi. Fang Yi remained expressionless. A sudden surge of golden light emanated from his palm, and with a swift motion, he slapped the great Xun'er demon pillar away. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang through the sky, and visible ripples of power spread out. Mu Chen was knocked back, his body sent flying, while the great Xun'er demon pillar shot upwards into the air. Compare me to the ordinary 5th grade Supremes you've faced before, and you'll regret it, Fang Yi said indifferently, watching the scene. Then, with a single step, he appeared above the great Xun'er demon pillar and slammed his palm down on it. Take this back. The vast spiritual energy erupted, and the great Xun'er demon pillar turned into a dark shadow, trailing a sharp sonic boom as it hurtled toward Mu Chen. The force of the impact was so great that even a typical 5th grade Supreme would not dare to meet it head-on. Humph! Mu Chen snorted coldly in his heart. Fang Yi was truly cunning, trying to use the great Xun'er demon pillar to attack him. If Mu Chen dodged, his momentum would weaken, and Fang Yi would seize the initiative. But if he took the blow head-on, it would play into Fang Yi's hands, allowing him to suppress Mu Chen with his own formidable spiritual energy. All eyes in the world were fixed on Mu Chen at this moment. This is mine. You don't have the right to use it. Under the gaze of countless eyes, Mu Chen's face turned icy. His hands swiftly formed seals, and golden light burst from his chest. The sound of an ancient dragon's roar filled the heavens, full of terrifying majesty. The golden light surged, and on his right arm, the true dragon's spirit manifested like dragon patterns, with the dragon claws perfectly aligning with his palm and fingers. Mu Chen's eyes glowed with golden light, and his right arm seemed to expand, the veins beneath his skin trembling like coiled dragons. He felt as though a giant dragon was hidden within his right arm, ready to burst forth. As his strength grew, he was gradually unlocking the full power of the dragon and phoenix body. Boom! The great Xun'er demon pillar descended like a mountain, covered in an overwhelmingly powerful, violent spiritual energy. This was the spiritual energy of Fang Yi, temporarily enveloping the pillar to block Mu Chen's control. At this moment, the great Xun'er demon pillar clearly no longer recognized Mu Chen as its master. Under the watchful eyes of countless onlookers, Mu Chen stood still, gazing up at the rapidly enlarging pillar. Taking a deep breath, he slowly threw a punch, directly striking the base of the pillar. That punch was simple, with no fancy movements, but the power it contained caused the surrounding space to shatter in an instant, leaving visible cracks in the air. Clang! The sound of metal striking was like thunder, booming across the heavens and earth, causing the blood and energy of countless powerful figures to surge. Their gazes were fixed on the sky. Up there, Mu Chen maintained his posture, having just thrown the punch, and above him, the great Xun'er demon pillar had come to a halt. The immense power it had been carrying was now fully absorbed. Everyone could clearly see that the golden spiritual energy covering the great Xun'er demon pillar, which had been released by Fang Yi, was now shattered by Mu Chen's punch. Many strong figures were shaken, clearly stunned by the power of Mu Chen's strike. Amidst the countless gazes, Chen moved and landed atop the great Xun'er demon pillar. His dark eyes seemed to have a raging dragon roaring within them, emitting a mysterious pressure as they swept over Fong Yi, whose expression had turned slightly darker. Next time, don't meddle with other people's possessions. I advise you not to embarrass yourself, Chen said coldly, his gaze sharp as he looked at Fong Yi. Fong Yi narrowed his eyes, then nodded slightly. Let's see who will be the one embarrassed today. The winds and clouds stirred in the sky as two figures stood in the high heavens. Their sharp gazes met in midair, sparks flying, and a cold, murderous intent silently spread. This was a true battle of dragons and tigers. Many onlookers were astonished, their attention drawn to Chen, who stood on the great Xun'er demon pillar. The power of his previous punch still lingered in their minds, causing some of the strong to grow serious. They understood that the strength Chen had displayed in that punch was beyond the reach of even the typical 5th grade supreme. Chen's courage to accept Fong Yi's challenge showed that he indeed had some confidence. This super dark horse title seemed well-deserved, and the outcome of this battle was still unpredictable. Under the countless gazes, Fong Yi's expression remained calm. His eyes swept over Chen, and he recognized the familiar aura of the Dragon Phoenix body that Chen had obtained in Dragon Phoenix Heaven. The legendary Dragon Phoenix body was indeed a profound power that allowed a 4th grade supreme to wield such incredible strength. However, if Chen thought that this was enough to challenge him, then he might be too naive. Fong Yi's eyes gleamed with sharpness, and with a sudden stomp of his foot, the air seemed to crack with a deafening sonic boom, sending visible sound waves rippling outward from beneath his feet. Boom! With Fong Yi's stomp, terrifying spiritual energy surged from the space behind him, like a massive tidal wave, shaking the very heavens and earth. The space trembled under the force. Fong Yi stood beneath the wave of spiritual energy, his seemingly small figure now towering like a giant, reigning over the world. The pressure of his spiritual energy was so intense that even figures like the Blood Eagle King, Su Ba, and others froze in their tracks, their gazes sharp. Chen felt the incoming pressure as well. His heart tightened slightly. Clearly, Fong Yi was much stronger than he had been in Dragon Phoenix Heaven. Back then, Chen had estimated Fong Yi to be at the level of an ordinary 5th grade supreme, but now, he seemed to have reached the peak of that stage. Fong Yi's strength had evidently progressed significantly in this period. You truly are remarkable, able to defeat a 5th grade supreme with a 4th grade supreme. But no one in the 5th grade can defeat me. Fong Yi locked his piercing gaze onto Chen, his voice full of unshakable confidence. Chen had his proud battle record, and so did Fong Yi. Since he had ascended to the 5th grade supreme, no one at his level had ever defeated him. Boom! The immense spiritual energy behind Fong Yi roared like a tidal wave, and with his godlike stance, it seemed to radiate absolute power. Boom! His figure suddenly shot into the sky, his hands forming a seal, and his right hand pressed against the void. A strange, indescribable sense of pressure spread across the heavens and earth at this moment. Countless powerful figures exchanged solemn glances. Even some who had reached the 5th grade supreme felt their hearts race with unease, for they could sense the deadly danger emanating from Fong Yi's assault. Clearly, at this moment, Fong Yi was executing his killing move, intending to end this battle as quickly as possible. He wanted everyone to know that before him, the Dragon Phoenix Records Overlord, any dark horse would appear laughable and ridiculous. Those who sought to challenge the authority of a ruler would ultimately be reduced to ashes. Chen's face also turned extremely solemn, as he felt the immense pressure from Fong Yi. This opponent was undeniably powerful, to the point of instilling fear. He took a deep breath. Chen's eyes began to darken and become as deep as black holes. His black hair quickly grew longer, fluttering in the wind. His once handsome and lively face became as calm and still as a quiet pool, without a ripple, as though he could remain unshaken even if the sky were to collapse. Supreme Heart Devil Sutra, Lesser Heart Demon State. A lion hunts a rabbit with all its might. How much more should he give against Fong Yi, who was no rabbit, but a fierce tiger? Therefore, Chen knew he had to use all his hidden trump cards and powers. Boom. The spiritual energy surged across the sky. Violent spiritual power collided with the very fabric of space, creating a booming sound. Meanwhile, Fang Yi's eyes turned cold and sharp, his gaze locking onto Chen from above. In the next instant, his hand, marked with ancient light seals, slowly descended towards the void. A detached voice echoed across the heavens. Cosmic Divine Scripture, Cosmic Divine Seal. Boom. Countless complex rays of light seemed to converge under Fang Yi's palm, forming a vast cosmic star map. The overwhelming spiritual pressure of the cosmic energy spread out, eventually transforming into a spiritual seal engraved with a star map that crashed down with great force. Where the star map seal passed, even space itself was shattered, leaving visible cracks. The pressure it carried caused many powerful figures to change color in shock. That's one of the supreme nerves from the Divine Hall. This is a godly technique on the level of near-perfect mastery. Fang Yi is indeed formidable. To be able to successfully cultivate it, this move would surely defeat any fifth-grade supreme. Fang Yi truly lives up to his reputation. Such a technique, at this level, can only be learned in the Divine Hall, a top-tier force. Ordinary people can't even see it, let alone practice it. Whispers of awe spread among the gathered crowd, as many strong figures marveled at the sight of Fang Yi using such a near-perfect godly technique. Near-perfect godly technique. Chen's deep eyes raised to look at the descending star map seal. Despite the terrifying assault, his face showed no sign of change, thanks to the lesser heart demon state. Viru. Chen's hands moved like lightning to form seals. Behind him, the space began to distort, and it was as though one could faintly see the vast, boundless supreme sea, within which spiritual power surged violently. Finally, from massive beams of light shot out. Roar. The roar of dragons and elephants resounded. Two gigantic dragons and elephants appeared above Chen's head, their feet pressing down on the void, causing space to tremble. All the powerful figures could feel the overwhelming pressure of the twin dragons and elephants. However, if Chen thought this alone could resist Fang Yi's terrifying assault, it was far from enough. If 2 dragons and 2 elephants aren't enough, then let's add a little more. Chen muttered softly to himself. The 9 dragons and 9 elephants art had been cultivated by him for nearly a year. While it was not yet perfected, it was clearly a step above where it had started. And with Chen's current strength, the twin dragons and elephants were by no means his ultimate form. His deep gaze shifted slightly. Under the watchful eyes of many, his hand seals changed once more. In the vast supreme sea behind him, the dragon and elephant roars rang out again, and this time, 2 more streaks of light shot out. 1 more dragon and 1 more elephant. Above the sky, 3 dragons and 3 elephants stood firm in the air. Many strong figures, initially amazed, now looked grim. However, just as they were still in shock over Chen's methods, their pupils suddenly contracted. They saw that after summoning the 3 dragons and 3 elephants, Chen's seal technique was once again starting to change. He could still continue summoning. Countless strong experts' pupils shrank. Chen was merely a 4th-grade supreme. How could he achieve such a level? They could sense that the divine art Chen was using was certainly no weaker than Fang Yi's cosmic divine scripture. Boom. Amid the countless astonished gazes, Chen's seal technique suddenly solidified, and the supreme sea behind him began to surge violently. In the next instant, under the horrified stares, it once again transformed into 2 streaks of light and shot out. 4 dragons and 4 elephants. When those 8 massive creatures appeared in the sky, even Su Ba and Blood Eagle King's expressions changed. Fang Yi's face darkened as he slapped his palm, causing the massive shadow of the cosmic divine seal to descend upon Chen. He did not believe that Chen, with his peak 5th-grade supreme power, could resist the full force of his cosmic divine scripture. Cosmic divine seal, control the cosmos. Chen's hands came together, as if holding the sun and moon, and a deep voice reverberated in his mind. 9 dragons and 9 elephants art, 4 dragons and 4 elephants shatter the sky. The 4 dragons and 4 elephants howled to the heavens, and the visible sound waves swept across the space. The space trembled continuously, and then the 4 dragons and 4 elephants merged into 8 streaks of light, crashing into each other. Instantly, spiritual light surged, and a massive ancient halberd, about 1,000 feet in size, rapidly formed from the light. The ancient halberd was encircled by the 4 dragons and 4 elephants, as if possessing the divine power to shake the heavens and earth. Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd. Mu Chen's eyes shone with brilliance as he raised both hands. A thunderous roar resounded. Boom! The ancient halberd erupted with a deafening hum, and in the next moment, it turned into a streak of light, tearing through the void at an unimaginable speed. In an instant, it appeared directly beneath the descending cosmic divine seal. Without hesitation, it struck upward with all its might. Under the countless gazes, the Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd collided with the cosmic divine seal, like 2 meteors falling from the sky, carrying devastating waves of energy as they crashed together. Countless strong experts' eyes focused on the point of collision. Everyone wanted to know, when these 2 equally terrifying divine arts clashed, which would emerge victorious. Would the supreme divine art of the Divine Hall prevail, or would Mu Chen's mysterious divine art prove stronger? Under the burning gaze of countless powerful experts, the 2 attacks, filled with terrifying power, collided like meteors streaking across the sky. Clang! At the moment of impact, an earth-shattering sound rang out, and a violent spiritual energy storm formed almost instantly, sweeping out in a terrifying manner. Within a 1,000-mile radius, everything was engulfed by the raging storm of spiritual energy. Mountains were directly crushed into flat ground, massive rocks turned to dust, and the earth was torn apart with jagged cracks. Faced with such terrifying destructive power, even some experts who had reached the 5th grade supreme level couldn't help but change their expressions. They knew that if it were them, even with their full strength, they would find it extremely difficult to reach such a level. Yet now, this was happening in the battle between Mu Chen and Fang Yi. They weren't surprised by the latter, but what surprised them was that Mu Chen, with his 4th grade supreme strength, could fight to such an extent. Some strong experts exchanged glances and could see a hint of seriousness in each other's eyes. This Mu Chen dared to directly face Fang Yi's challenge, not out of arrogance, but because he truly possessed formidable power. Today's battle, the battle between the Dark Horse and the Battle of Dominance, was bound to be extremely interesting. As countless powerful experts' thoughts flashed rapidly, above the sky, 2 massive rainbows were clashing fiercely. They were the cosmic divine seal of Fang Yi and Mu Chen's Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd. The 2 violent rainbows were clearly pushing their spiritual power to the limit, but neither could overpower the other. Mu Chen's 9 dragons and 9 elephants art, behind the violent spiritual energy rainbow, Fang Yi's eyes were cold as he watched the scene unfold. Deep in his gaze, there was clearly a flash of anger, indicating that this was unexpected, even for him. He could tell that the 9 dragons and 9 elephants art that Mu Chen had used was also a divine art at the level of near perfection. In terms of rank, it was no different from the cosmic divine seal. Yet Fang Yi possessed the peak strength of a 5th grade supreme. This was an entire realm higher than Mu Chen, and logically speaking, divine arts of the same rank would be judged by the power of the user's spiritual energy. So, according to this logic, in their current clash, Fang Yi should have been able to easily overpower Mu Chen, yet the result was not what he had expected. This guy's spiritual energy may not be as strong as mine, but it flows perfectly, as if not a single drop is wasted. Fang Yi's gaze flickered. Being a top-tier figure himself, he gradually sensed why Mu Chen could rival him so closely after the initial stalemate. This discovery made Fang Yi feel uncertain, as it was hard to believe that Mu Chen, with the strength of a 4th grade supreme, could manage such flawless control over his own spiritual energy, using it with such efficiency. That level of control was something even he could not achieve. As Fang Yi was searching for a way to defeat Mu Chen, his eyes suddenly sharpened. He raised his head sharply and saw the Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd explode with an intense surge of spiritual energy at the point where the 2 massive rainbow lights collided. Chen had triggered the Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd to erupt. Boom. When the Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd exploded, the previously bright world dimmed, as if the very sky and earth had lost their light. The explosion released a burst of colors even more dazzling than daylight, shining through the world. Along with the blinding light, a spiritual energy shockwave that reached around 10,000 feet in size swept outward. In the high sky, the surrounding space within several thousand feet was shattered, leaving visible cracks in the air. The cosmic divine seal was also shattered. Countless powerful figures paled, retreating rapidly, fearing the terrifying shockwave would catch them. Feng Yi's eyes turned cold. His figure transformed into numerous afterimages as he darted away, avoiding the spreading shockwave. His icy gaze, however, was fixed on the space that had been impacted by the spiritual energy storm. Chen should have been in that direction. With his speed and the fact that he had triggered the Dragon Elephant Divine Halberd so close to him, there was no way he could avoid such a terrifying shockwave. Buzz. But just as this thought flashed through Feng Yi's mind, his expression changed drastically. He felt the space behind him suddenly tear open. A flash of light appeared, and behind it, enormous phoenix wings spread out, blocking the sky and sun. Boom. As the light shadow appeared, a massive punch came crashing towards him. On the fist, a faint dragon-shaped light pattern could be seen moving. The terrifying force of the punch shattered the space around it. The sheer power was so overwhelming that even Feng Yi's heart skipped a beat. But he was no ordinary opponent. With a swift motion, he clenched his hand into a fist, and a surge of spiritual energy flooded out like a tidal wave. Cosmic Spirit Shield. The spiritual energy quickly formed an ancient, sturdy shield in front of him. On the surface of the shield, complex star maps shimmered, radiating an unshakable sense of invincibility. Boom. Chen's dragon-infused fist wind collided with the shield, creating ripples across its surface. The ripples intensified until the shield shattered into pieces. In that brief moment, Feng Yi snapped back to reality. His once handsome face had turned slightly dark. Clearly, he hadn't anticipated that Chen not only avoided the terrifying shockwave, but had also silently appeared behind him. If he hadn't been on guard, he might have already been injured by Chen. Since you dare to sneak attack, then don't even think about escaping. Feng Yi sneered, unleashing the full power of his peak 5th grade supreme strength. As golden light surged around him, the sound of a dragon's roar echoed through the air. Although the true dragon physique is far inferior to the dragon phoenix body, it still offers a considerable enhancement. When combined with Feng Yi's peak 5th grade supreme powerful spiritual energy, it is likely that few within the 5th grade supreme realm can match him. Bang! Bang! Feng Yi's figure shot forward like lightning, his fists cutting through the air like dragons. With each punch, the space around them was torn apart, and the wind from his fists enveloped Chen's every escape route. Feng Yi's close combat skills were equally impressive. Under such an onslaught, even a strong 5th grade supreme expert would likely be forced onto the defensive, struggling to keep up. Chen's face was serious. Feng Yi was indeed much harder to deal with than he had anticipated. His earlier surprise attack had not achieved the desired result. Instead, it had allowed Feng Yi to close in, trying to suppress him with the overwhelming spiritual power of a peak 5th grade supreme. Chen's eyes flashed as he entered his lesser heart demon state. His handsome face remained calm, and then, amidst the exclamations of many, he suddenly lunged forward. A deep, dark golden light erupted from Chen's body, with the true dragon spirit swirling around him. Behind him, the true phoenix spirit manifested into phoenix wings, creating violent winds with each flap. At this moment, Chen fully unleashed the power of the dragon phoenix body, merging it with the undying fire, netherworld heart demon lightning, and perfect control of the lesser heart demon state. With all these methods combined, Chen's mighty palm wind howled as it clashed violently with Feng Yi's relentless attack. Boom, boom, boom. The two figures clashed in the sky like two ferocious dragons. The sound of their punches echoed like thunder, and each impact sent ripples through the space. The terrifying spiritual energy storm raged all around. Below, countless strong experts looked up in astonishment at the two figures locked in a fierce battle above. That kid actually managed to fight Fang Yi to this extent, Su Ba said, his face dark with concern as he watched the battle. With his sharp eyes, he could tell that while Fang Yi had the upper hand, it was not enough to secure an outright victory. Mu Chun was clearly proving far more troublesome than they had anticipated. However, Su Ba was not overly worried. He knew just how powerful Fang Yi was. Mu Chun had already fallen into Fang Yi's offensive, and if this continued, it was only a matter of time before Mu Chun was forced into a fatal mistake. But Su Ba wasn't the only one who saw this. Nine Nether and Blood Eagle King also noticed, their brows furrowing with concern. A fourth-grade Supreme daring to face me head-on? Unaware of his own limitations. With a fierce clash, Fang Yi's eyes became suddenly sharp. He spoke coldly, and with a surge of immense power, a mighty palm wind, packed with overwhelming spiritual energy, shot forward like a storm, striking Mu Chen's crossed arms. Boom! The space trembled as Mu Chun was sent flying backward like a cannonball. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth, showing that Fang Yi's powerful palm had injured him. The air was filled with exclamations. It seemed that in terms of raw power, Mu Chun was no match for Fang Yi. Amidst the regretful gazes, Mu Chun retreated in a disheveled state. But even as he stumbled backward, his dark eyes gleamed with a sharp, eagle-like light. Below, Su Ba, Nine Nether, and Blood Eagle King's pupils contracted in unison. Behind Mu Chun, as he was retreating, a dark purple light suddenly surged, and within that light, a huge, enchanting flower slowly materialized. Fang Yi's face changed drastically at this moment. From the mystical flower, he sensed an intense wave of danger that filled him with unease. In the sky, Mu Chun was blasted backward like a cannonball, and as he flew, the dark purple light enveloped him, forming into a huge, mysterious, and enchanting flower behind him. The flower slowly bloomed, its petals covered in ancient patterns. As it moved, it seemed to dim the very heavens and earth, releasing a mysterious power. All the powerful experts could feel the intense sense of danger emanating from the flower behind Mu Chun. This brat, how does he have so many tricks up his sleeve? Su Ba's face turned ashen as he watched the scene unfold. His gaze grew heavy with concern as he realized that the divine art Mu Chun was using now was far superior to the 9 dragons and 9 elephants art he had seen before. The 9 dragons and 9 elephants art was already a near-perfect divine art. So did this mean that Mu Chun had mastered a truly perfected divine art? This reality made Su Ba's eyelids twitch involuntarily. He knew well how rare and precious a perfected divine art was. Even within their divine hall, such arts were considered top-tier and hard to come by. Even someone of his rank would find it difficult to obtain one. What's more, mastering a divine art at the perfected level wasn't as simple as just getting your hands on it. It required the practitioner to meet extremely harsh standards in order to successfully cultivate it. Achieving this was far from easy. So, when Su Ba saw that Mu Chun not only possessed a perfected divine art, but had also managed to cultivate it successfully, a feeling of envy surged within him. Even with his status, it was hard for him not to feel a twinge of jealousy. As the entire room was stunned by the mysterious flowers appearing behind Mu Chun, he licked the blood at the corner of his mouth, his dark, deep eyes devoid of any emotion, as he gazed at Fang Yi, who stood in the distance, his face similarly changing drastically. Without hesitation, Mu Chun quickly formed seals with both hands, and the enchanting and mysterious mandala flowers behind him bloomed open. The flower's center, like a black hole, was aimed directly at Fang Yi. Whoosh! Fang Yi's face turned ashen as his figure blurred into a series of afterimages, retreating at high speed. He could sense the immense power behind Mu Chen's attack, and facing such a strike, even he knew it was best to avoid the brunt of it. Fang Yi had seen this mysterious attack before in Dragon Phoenix Heaven, when Mu Chun had used it to block Netherworld Prince's ultimate move, so he was well aware of its destructive power. Moreover, Mu Chun now seemed far stronger than when he faced Netherworld Prince in Dragon Phoenix Heaven. This same move, compared to last time, was clearly far more devastating. Buzz! Buzz! Mu Chen's gaze remained cold as he watched Fang Yi retreat. Slowly, his eyes closed, and a chilling voice echoed in his mind, bringing with it a wave of killing intent. Mandala Annihilation Light. Mu Chen's slender fingers extended, and he lightly pressed into the void. The space beneath his fingers instantly shattered like fragile glass, cracking with visible fissures. Boom. At that moment, the alluring mandala flower behind him completely blossomed, and in the next instant, the flower's core trembled violently. A dark purple beam of light shot out with terrifying force. As the dark purple beam streaked across the sky, it seemed as though the entire world dimmed. It felt as if all light had been devoured by the beam, a bizarre and eerie sensation. The purple beam moved at an unimaginable speed, like a serpent slithering through the void. Wherever it passed, the space shattered, and the distance between spaces seemed irrelevant. In the blink of an eye, the destructive dark purple beam appeared right in front of Feng Yi. Feng Yi's expression turned completely grim. Taking a deep breath, his hand seals rapidly shifted, and boundless spiritual energy surged out, transforming into a massive star map that stretched out in front of him. Cosmic Star Map. The star map expanded, filled with profound and obscure power, radiating immense spiritual energy. Boom. The dark purple beam charged forward without hesitation, slamming into the star map amidst countless shocked gazes. Crack. The moment the beam made contact, the seemingly powerful star map cracked open with numerous visible fissures. These cracks spread at an astonishing speed, and within mere moments, the entire star map was engulfed. Boom. As the cracks fully spread, the star map shattered into countless dazzling light particles, a spectacle of pure brilliance. Whoosh! The destructive beam of light did not slow down. Countless powerful figures changed their expressions drastically. Even though Feng Yi possessed the strength of a peak 5th grade supreme, being hit directly by such a terrifying attack would surely leave him severely injured. Impressive, Wu Tian said, his expression filled with shock as he looked at the scene. He then glanced with difficulty at the tall, black-haired figure standing in the sky. Although he had witnessed Mu Chen's strength at the King's Sealing Ceremony, he still found it hard to believe that Mu Chen could force a peak 5th grade supreme to such a dire situation. It was hard to imagine that, just a year ago, Mu Chen had arrived in the Great Luo Heaven Domain as nothing more than a brash kid who hadn't even stabilized his supreme stage. Yet now, even in the face of the North Domain's strongest youth, he seemed unfazed and calm. Such progress left even the proud Wu Tian speechless. All eyes in the vast world were drawn to the sky, which was now filled with brilliant light spots. Zhuyo, Su Ba, and the Blood Eagle King remained silent. However, their sharp gazes never stopped probing the tumultuous spiritual energy that filled the high skies. Mu Chen stood in midair, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. His black hole-like eyes fixed on the area filled with light. There was no sign of movement, as if the figure in that spot had completely vanished. Had Feng Yi been killed? Mu Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, but in the next instant, his pupils constricted. Boom. Just as his pupils contracted, the light spots in the distance suddenly exploded into the air. Waves of light rippled, and a huge figure shot out from the explosion. With one step, it appeared before Mu Chen, and a massive palm like a mountain came crashing down. The attack came so suddenly that, even though Mu Chen had entered the lesser heart demon state, he was still caught off guard. However, as the palm descended, golden light flashed from his body, and his dragon and phoenix golden armor appeared. Clang! The massive palm slammed down like a mountain, causing the space to shake. It struck Mu Chen with a resounding clang, and his body was sent plummeting to the ground, smashing a peak into rubble. The ground cracked open beneath him. The sudden change shocked everyone, and only after Mu Chen crashed into the earth did they snap back to their senses. They quickly looked up, only to see a giant shadow standing in the sky, emanating an incredible pressure of spiritual energy. The giant figure, about 1,000 feet tall, was covered with countless stars. The starlight between them connected, forming intricate and obscure star maps. At that moment, however, the figure's left arm shattered, transforming it into a one-armed giant. What is that? Countless gazes were filled with shock as they looked at the one-armed giant. After a moment, exclamations erupted. Is that the ancient star physique? That's the ancient star physique ranked 65th on the supreme physique list. Yes, this ancient star physique is one of the top supreme physiques in the Divine Hall. I can't believe Feng Yi was able to cultivate it, though it's rare for anyone to force him to use it. Ranked 65th. Such a powerful supreme physique. They say that when this ancient star physique is perfected, it can turn into a starry sky. Under the light of the stars, this physique is indestructible. It's incredibly strong. That explains how he could withstand Mu Chen's devastating attack earlier. He must have used his trump card. As countless exclamations echoed through the heavens and earth, Feng Yi's figure appeared above the starry giant. His complexion was slightly pale, clearly showing the effects of the attack Mu Chen had just delivered. Even after summoning his supreme physique, he had paid the price of losing an arm, which weakened the power of the ancient star physique. Feng Yi's gaze darkened as he looked down. He could feel a significant drain of spiritual energy from his body. Although he hadn't underestimated Mu Chen from the start, being pushed to this extent exceeded his expectations. To force me to this point. Feng Yi's tone was icy cold, but the murderous intent in his eyes surged to its peak. He knew that this battle was critical. If he didn't eliminate Mu Chen now, the latter's fame would only grow stronger. If that happened, Feng Yi would likely become nothing more than a stepping stone for Mu Chen's rise. Such a scenario was clearly something he could not tolerate. Without hesitation, Feng Yi formed a seal with both hands. Suddenly, the complex star map on the body of his star body exploded in a dazzling brilliance. The star light gathered on his enormous palm, transforming into an enormous star giant spear. Star River Ancient Divine Spear. One strike to end you. Feng Yi roared like a dragon. With a stomp of his foot, his body seemed to fuse with the star body, turning into a cascade of blinding starlight that surged downwards. The star giant spear, carrying overwhelming waves of power, slammed into the collapsing earth with a mighty force. Countless powerful figures looked on with grave expressions. It was clear to everyone that Feng Yi had unleashed his strongest attack, determined to utterly slay the equally injured Mu Chen.